Howdy everybody and welcome back to the Willy St. Willy channel once again, and what you're about to see is episode 2 of my true crime podcast, Willy Behind the Curtain, with the twist being, as always, that none of it's real. Yes, if you see my first episode, you already know the premise. I set up a whole fake podcast where I trick my guests into thinking that I'm telling them a real true crime event they have to solve. In reality, it's some sort of popular IP, like the last one being FNAF. I got the idea from another YouTuber named Chase Bridges, who basically did the same thing except with like Scooby-Doo episodes, and he himself got the idea from a Tumblr post, I believe, but I wanted to do my own little spin on it. And since the first episode went over so well with you guys, I figured I just have to do an episode 2 of this series. And the problem with this one was Tristan's already seen the first episode, so he knows the trick. But our boy Chase came in clutch once again. If you already have a guest that knows the trick, well, why don't you give them 2 cases to solve instead of just 1? With the twist being that both of the cases are fake, and they have to figure that out to win. Yes, our second victim for Willy Behind the Curtain is Tristan, otherwise known as Rotten Silverfins on Twitch, so go support him. I'll leave a link in the description, and the video example will be up here somewhere, I guess, on screen. He's a really cool guy, you should go support him, and he was a real good sport about this whole thing. But for this episode, there are no Freddy Fazbears, there are no purple guys. I decided to true crimeify Poppy Playtime. Yes, you know the gist. I tried to take the meat and potatoes, the bare bones of the plot of Poppy Playtime and make it into a realistic true crime case to the best of my ability. Now, the lore is not perfect. I had to change names and locations and probably left out some stuff. I know I did. So it's not perfect, but I think I got the point across that it's the plot of Poppy Playtime. Also, disclaimer, I just want to say this for the first episode. The Mormon rant, that was a joke, okay? Remedy made it seem worse than it was by censoring half of what I said, but that whole thing was a bit. I love Mormons. Hopefully you guys have as much fun watching this as I did making it. And without further ado, let's get into it. Howdy everybody and welcome back to episode 2 of Willy Behind the Curtain, where I go into true crimes that range from the mundane to the unexplainable. Now, last time I set my streamer friend down, Captain Mitten, I told him a cold case that left detectives horrified, keeps them up at night, and he believed every single word. But here's the thing, Mitten had no idea what was coming, and honestly, it was kind of too easy on my end. So, for episode 2, I decided to pick someone who already knows the twist. He's seen the first episode, unfortunately, so it's gonna be a little bit... You can't really trick him in the way I did with Mitten. Tristan, I believe, did you not, in your own words, watch the first episode and you said, I would never fall for that. I can't believe Mitten fell for that. You were very confident that you could have figured it out, I think.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know, the first episode of what?
Oh, the True Crime Podcast, of course.
Oh, yes, yeah. Yes. I did watch the first episode. I watched all of it, and, spoiler alert, it's a game that I think a lot of people know, so, and now a movie.
Well, here's the thing with this one. So, because you already know the twist, I shook things up a little bit for you, okay? This time, since you already know the format, I don't just have one fake case for you this time, where it's like, oh, haha, got Tristan's goat, we tricked him. No, I have 2 cases for you, and here's the twist. One of them actually happened. Oh. Now, Tristan, how familiar are you with true crime, just in general?
Not at all. Mm-hmm. Crimes happen, and I don't really know much about it. I don't watch the local news too much. Okay. I know they're out here reporting on it. I don't really listen to the podcasts. I know they're popular. I haven't heard them. More of a comedy podcast guy. So I don't know much. I don't know much about the format. I don't know about the stereotypes. I don't know about the tropes. I don't know a lot of this. So
okay. Well, how familiar are you with the game Poppy Playtime?
I think I could no, I can't even really sum it up.
but you've seen clips of it. Like you just know kind of the general idea.
I know that you're running away from like a blue monster who is looks like maybe it was a stuffed animal or something.
Okay. So you're familiar with the concept. You know of it. Okay. So
yeah.
The 2 cases I picked out for you. Now these are real proper whodunits, real head scratchers. I'll put it this way. Okay.
Okay.
And like I said, one of them is real, one of them isn't, and it's your job to figure out. Once I go through the cases and deliberations of all this, I'm going to tell you them as they are as they are a true crime case, as if they're, like plot summaries in a way, so I can give you all the details that you would need to know. You not only have to figure out who do you think is guilty, but at the end of it all, you have to figure out which one is fake, which one is really just the plot of Poppy's Playtime. You have to figure this out.
Okay, I think I can do that.
All right, Tristan, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good, let's go! So, case numero uno, the Ludlow case. It takes place in Millhaven, Indiana. A toy company called Playtime Industries that was founded in 1930 by a man named Edward Ludlow. Now, these guys became semi-popular in the Midwest, okay? It's not on the same level as like Fisher-Price, but they were, a household name in that kind of area, okay? Interesting thing about Mr. Edward Ludlow is he was a true believer. He thought making children happy was the most important thing a person could do with their life. Now, Edward founded this company the same year his marriage ended. Ruh-roh, raggy, okay? Now, he and his wife, Molly, divorced almost immediately after he founded Playtime Industries because, neighbors said that he had become so consumed by his work that there was basically nothing left for anyone else. Basically, he was a real nose to the grindstone, really obsessed with his work kind of guy, and neglected his family, okay? Women, am I right? They just don't understand the grind.
Yeah, that's what it is.
In 1950, Edward released a doll that changed everything for the company. Her name was Dolly. Okay, this was also the 50s, so don't expect anything too crazy here. But Dolly.
Wait, isn't there a Dolly character in Toy Story 4 that is evil?
I don't know. I haven't seen Toy Story 4.
Oh, okay, never mind.
So Dolly at the time was unlike anything else in the market. She had a porcelain face, like a pink dress, and a little red cheeks, and glassy eyes. And it was kind of the doll that would look like it would follow you around the room no matter where you're at. It had weird eyes like that. The crazy thing is, she could even speak. This was crazy for the 1950s, okay? They actually had pre-recorded, conversations, catchphrases, you would say. And this, at the time, this was very groundbreaking. Now, thing up with Dolly is that Dolly was modeled after Edward's own daughter, a girl he had raised by himself when the missus walked out on them after the divorce, okay? And Dolly became the company's best-selling product for a whopping 34 consecutive years. It was pretty big deal for the company. Yeah. However, tragedy struck, okay? In 1960, the real Dolly, the girl that was based off of, his daughter, died. Yeah. She was only 11 years old, unfortunately. That was a very late, abortion for him, I guess, but it was very tragic. Unfortunate. Okay. And from that point onward, Edward was a different man. Neighbors described a slow but unmistakable change. He had stopped attending community events. He started working nonstop throughout the night. He even dismissed several long-term staff members without really much of an explanation. Very erratic kind of guy now. And for some reason, the factory supply records from the 60s show consistent purchases of weird botanical extracts, like poppy plant derivatives and laboratory equipment, things that didn't really have anything to do with the manufacturing originally. It was just kind of odd. Now, his ex-wife told neighbors that basically she thought he was crazy. He lost his mind because of grief. Apparently, he was also really into occult rituals and fringe science experiments that would potentially bring Dolly back, in his mind. He thought weird Frankenstein level experiments like this could work, essentially.
Okay.
So he was kind of losing his mind. He wanted to bring Dolly back. Now, internal documents recovered decades later described over 800 experimental procedures that was conducted in a private laboratory that Edward had made that was beneath the factory floor. It was at the factory site. And it was mostly on rats. He performed a lot of tests on rats, basically. And it was all experimenting with a compound that he developed from poppy flower extracts that he thought could potentially increase human lifespan and bring his daughter back. It was very strange stuff. There was occult elements mixed in with it as well. It was very weird. Employees, as you naturally might have guessed, thought the factory was a strange place to work around this time period. It was very cheerful on the surface, very colorful, bright, and kind of tailored to kids in a way. It's a dang toy company. But certain areas were off limits. Certain areas you just didn't go to. And occasionally late at night, some employees working night shifts would hear weird noises or have weird events they couldn't really explain. In 1976, Edward founded Playcare, which was an on-site orphanage. It was like a charity thing for basically unhoused children from the local welfare system. Now, Playcare had its own dedicated space onto the company's side in the lower levels. There were activity rooms, there were structured assessment programs, and Edward called them the game station, where children could basically do puzzles and activities, like things like that for kids. From the children at Play Care, who would come and go, Edward adopted a boy named Oliver. Now, Oliver loved Edward like a father, and staff who saw them together said it was one of the most genuine things that Edward had done in years, because he genuinely seemed to care about Oliver. During the late 1970s, Oliver disappeared from the public. Like, no one really, like, it was basically like he just gone. He was gone. Edward told people he had gone to live with some of his relatives, and no one really questioned it, really, for a time. Now, this is where I need to pause, because we're getting to, like, the real juicy part. So, there was a doctor who arrived within this story in 1977. 2 years before Oliver disappeared from the public, Edward quietly brought in an outside consultant, a physician named Dr. Clarence Webb. Now, Dr. Webb, he wasn't like a toy company doctor for like employees. He was apparently specialized in experimental surgeries and had a background in fringe medical sciences that he published in papers in the 1960s for biological preservation and tissue transfers. Things that would go against all the mainstream consensus of media and medicine and science, basically. It's very unethical. And apparently, for a time, he had also worked with the OSS, which was the precursor to the CIA, if you didn't already know.
Okay.
So very weird guy to bring on for a toy company in the Midwest. Now, Edward had corresponded for Webb for about a decade, like several years before I actually brought them in. Edward was consulting with him on the private compounds he was trying to make and wanted to help him with his experiments. And in 1977, Webb arrived in person, and he was given laboratory access to some of the, the more private areas, and his own clearance badge and everything, and a private route, all this stuff. Like, basically, he seemed like kind of a normal academic doctor type. None of the employees really thought much of it. They thought maybe Edward was trying to experiment with different, like, toys or compounds. They couldn't really question it. You're kind of like a floor staff. You're not really going to question these kind of things. So he was at the factory for approximately 2 years, and then he left in 1979. The same year that Oliver disappeared from the public. After leaving Millhaven, after the 2 years he was there, Dr. Webb kind of just ceased all professional activity. He didn't really make any more public journals or books, nothing like that. He kind of just disappeared in a general sense from his medical practices. Dr. Clarence arrived at the factory the year before Oliver vanished, and he left the year after. This is where we get to kind of the wrap-up of it. So, following Edward Ludlow's disappearance from the factory on June 18th, 1992, investigators entered the building, because now Edward, the founder, is just gone. He went missing. He's very old at this point. He's a very old man, so they were worried he might have wandered off and maybe got himself hurt somewhere, because he was, very old at this point. And when the investigators were searching the factory, that was one of the places, they also searched the private laboratory that was beneath the factory. Take a wild guess who they found down in the factory. Take just wild guess.
They found the body of the girl?
Well, I'll get into that, but they found Oliver, the boy who was missing. He was alive, but he was in a very bad condition. Investigators described it as he was visibly distressed and was physically transformed almost beyond recognition. And basically, this was big news, like, for the entire state at the time this happened, because Edward was a pretty well-known figure within Indiana. He had raised this, adopted son like his own, and then they found him being experimented on below the basement of the factory. They found out he was doing all this as a way to try to bring his dead daughter back to life, and he was using Oliver as a test subject to see what could possibly happen. Real Jeffrey Dahmer level things like this. And they even found that in the room down the hall from the laboratory, connected by one of the factory's like internal slides, investigators found like the original Dolly doll that was in a sealed glass case. The creepy thing was that some investigators reported that they said the doll would turn her head to look at them. Like weird little details like that, almost like the doll was haunted in a way. I just thought that was funny. I want to point that out because I thought that was a weird little detail.
It's funny.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I thought it was kind of, it was a little quirky. I thought, but it didn't really pertain to the case. I just thought that was a little quirky and funny.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Basically, after 6 weeks, the investigation was closed and the factory was shut down. The crime here, obviously, was what was done to Oliver, because they were torturing a little boy. Out of all the guilty parties we mentioned, suspect number 1, Dr. Clarence Webb. Suspect number 2, Edward Ludlow. And you know what? I'll even throw in a suspect number 3, Molly Ludlow, which is the wife, who basically reported that she was warning people about Edward for several years that he had lost his mind to grief. And in 1974, she even filed a legal petition to have Edward declared mentally unfit to run the company. But the petition was rejected. And during the legal proceedings, Molly had access to Edward's personal correspondence, and she saw notes that he was attempting some of these weird experiments. She didn't know everything, but she knew some of the details, supposedly. After the petition failed, she stopped and went silent, and when Oliver disappeared from the factory in the late 1970s, she told one neighbor that she believed Edward had done something unforgivable. However, she did not go to the police. But in those writings that she was basically snooping around and found, she basically found writings saying that Edward wanted her, like his daughter, and Oliver and him to be one big happy family, and that they could still make this work. Basically, a one weird little twisted family in his mind. From this case one, who do you think did it? Only one person was really guilty of actually torturing Oliver in this way and keeping him held hostage here. One of the three. Who do you think did it, basically?
I have some questions.
Okay, go
okay,
ahead.
so Oliver disappeared in 1979?
Yes.
And then he wasn't found until they investigated in 1992?
Yes.
So he would have been... How old was he in 1979?
I didn't say. I did not say. But he was a very young boy when he originally disappeared.
Okay, so he would have probably been like an adult or close to it then they found him. Did you say what they had done to him?
No, but I described it as basically torture and horrific. Because he was almost unrecognizable. That was how bad it was. He was
almost unrecognizable.
He was pretty much unrecognizable. Like it took them a minute to even figure out who he was.
Yeah, he wasn't wearing a T-shirt with his name on it.
No, he didn't have a name tag. It was like, I'm Oliver. I like lollipops and toys. No.
Okay. In 1992, you said Ludlow, was that his name?
Yes.
Was an old man? Like, when was he born?
So, in 1930, when he was very young when he first technically started the company.
Founded in 1930.
Yes, he was around. But he was very young when he did this. He was like very, very young when he did this.
That's probably like 80 or 80s or something. Or they did not find him. They did not find Ludlow, but they found Oliver.
I didn't say if they found Ludlow or not.
Okay,
he went missing. He went missing, but I did not say if they found him or not.
Okay, all right, Willie. That was 1992. It's been it's been 34 years.
The same. So Edward Ludlow went missing. That's what prompted the investigators to search the factory in the compound to begin with. He wasn't missing for that long when they were searching it. Is
Oliver still alive today? Do we know?
I didn't say if he's still alive today or not.
Okay, so it's either the mom, Ludlow Sr., or Webb, Dr. Webb.
Yes. One of them is guilty. Like, they were actually the ones, like, basically doing everything, like, pretty much most of the work.
I mean, I don't know what information, like, I feel like I need more information about Dr. Webb to, like, say whether or not he was doing anything wrong. I mean, shady shit, like, clearly, but he left, and I don't know. Like, it kind of makes me think that maybe Ludlow Sr. did, like, experiments on, like, with Dr. Webb. Maybe Dr. Webb died. Okay. And, like, Oliver was part of that, and then, like, became Monster Oliver.
Monster Oliver? Like he's a super villain?
I mean, damn, like, the way you described this kid is, yes, he's probably now a Spider-Man villain out there. I think the adopted dad probably did it. Like, to me, I mean, that's what I'm getting. Okay, so I'm glad you locked that in the answer. So that is your answer for case one. Yes, you're locking that in. If it's between the three of them, yeah. Okay. I think ultimately I think it could have been both him and Dr. Webb together. Okay. I think they could both share the blame, but if you're telling me it's just one of them, then I'm gonna pick. The investigators found one of them to be basically the guilty party, like, and they were charged. And you didn't really say much at all about the mom. I didn't. No. I said some, but like I threw her in there as a suspect because she is part of the story. I just don't have any reason to think that it would be her. So, okay, based on what you said, so yeah, I think it's what's Ludlow's first name? Edward. I think it's Edward Ludlow. Okay. Old Eddie. All right, Eddie, you're locking in. All right. I'm glad you figured that out. Okay, I'm glad you locked your answer in. Now, I'm not going to tell you the answers yet. I'm going to wait for the end. I just wanted you to lock in your answer for that. I'm going to go on to case number 2 because this is, like, the first one was some weird, like, really disturbing Jeffrey Dahmer-esque level of, like, child abuse and
mental health issues and trauma, real messed up stuff, right? Case number 2, it's similar to some degree. However, we are getting into territories where I had to divulge information from the like Freedom of Information Acts, like almost like Epstein files levels of like research I had to do, because I would say it's on the same scale as the Epstein stuff or like human trafficking, but it's similar in nature where there is government involvement, real MK Ultra level stuff going on. You are going to be in a conspiracy whirl when I tell you this case number 2, okay? The Whitmore Experiments. It takes place in Glenport, Ohio, 1995. A toy company called the Whitmore Toy Group, which is privately held, family friendly, and was loved by the public in the area. Like, they've done school trips, they have gift shops, all that jazz, right? Their biggest product since 1984 was a large stuffed toy called Huxley. That was just their most recent toy that was popular. They had, other ones in the past, but that was their most popular thing, was Huxley. Now, Huxley was the company's signature product. Pretty big guy. He was taller than most adults. Like they had versions of him for like the main entrance. Most of the toys sold obviously were a normal sized toy. He had long arms, a smile that stretched all the way across his face, and he was the mascot. He basically became the mascot in the 80s, and you see him at the entrance, like waving people in, like a little statue they would have. So very, very cute little guy, okay? Now, the company was run by a director named Gerald Ash. Okay, he had taken over a few years earlier after the previous owner had basically disappeared. And the previous owner was the founder as well. Shortly after taking over, Ash hires a science team, specifically a scientist named Dr. Raymond Cord. Now, Cord is the head of research and basically had full reign with very little external oversight. Cord proposed a program that he called the Bigger Bodies Initiative. And that might sound really wacky, and I'm going to explain why this sounds really wacky right now. Okay. Because in 2003, a retired CIA budget analyst named Dennis Marsh filed a 47-page sworn statement with the Senate Oversight Committee. He described a classified program called Operation Floral that was established in 1989. The objective was to fund private research into making human beings basically more physically capable and less dependent on conventional resources and supply lines. Almost like very close to being like a super soldier program in a weird way. This is a relic from the Cold War when this started, basically, because it was in the 80s when it started. And between 1989 and 1995, Operation Floral had sent $67 million to the Whitmore Toy Group. And the CIA wasn't watching every little thing that happened at the factory, but they were basically the partners behind it. So essentially, this toy company basically became like a front, essentially. Now, Dennis Marsh, the man who filed this, with the Senate Oversight Committee, died of a cardiac event 6 weeks after filing his statement. He was 58, and he had no prior cardiac history or issues. The Senate hearing was eventually canceled, and the documents were basically, not all of them, but a lot of them became classified again. Some of them were released through Freedom of Information Acts, which is what I was able to read. The CIA officer overseeing the operation was named Dennis Holt, and he had made about 11 visits, like documented visits that we know of, to the Whitmore facility between 1990 and 1995. His last visit was August 5th, 1995, which is 3 days before August 8th. The Whitmore Toy Group operated a company-run children's care home called Sunrise House, and it was built in the lower levels of the factory in the huge company property. Now, it was basically housing children from the Ohio welfare system, okay, like a local charity fund thing. Under Cord's direction, Sunrise House director Dr. Mara Finn ran with a company called aptitude tests. Now, these are basic cognitive and physical assessments that would be tailored to children that were framed as like, oh, they're just fun educational activities, okay? Children who scored above Cord's threshold were flagged, and their welfare files were amended, and they basically were labeled for private adoption with no family name or address or a follow-up from the state. So basically, if they were adopted for this program, they would be privately adopted, and basically the paper trail of them would stop there, basically. Now, they were not adopted. They were subjected to Cord's procedures, and there were several different things that happened to them, including botanical compound injections and physical transformations. It was very strange human experiments for the Living Bigger Bodies initiative. Fast forward a little bit. On the night of June 18th, 1992, at 10:27 in the evening, something escaped. from the Whitmore facility. Now, they were doing a lot of weird things at this facility, and one of the experimental subjects that was designated as Experiment 1170, that was the name for him, had traveled about a half a mile from the factory perimeter before the retrieval team was able to capture them. And they were actually spotted by a woman named Carol Bennett, who lived about a half a mile from the factory. And she woke at 3 a.m. and looked out their bedroom window and said that she told the county sheriff that something was standing in her front yard, completely still, and was very tall and very thin. And their arms were hanging almost to the ground, facing the house, looking at the house. And she said the smile was like the worst part. She gave like a physical description of it, some of which I'm going to leave out because it's kind of horrific. The retrieval team managed to recapture the subject before the sheriff's deputies arrived. And apparently 5 team members died during this. So,
whoa,
yeah, it was a big jump,
they
very
must have had
big
a
jump.
lot of people.
They had a good amount of people for this factory. There were like hundreds of people that like worked there technically. Gerald Ash filed the incident report and described it as basically blind luck that they managed to recapture the subject. They said they got lucky because they thought it was basically just out in the wind and they would never be able to recover them. Here is the penultimate date. This is where we're wrapping up the story, getting near there. On August 8th, 1995, at approximately 9 a.m., an emergency broadcast was transmitted across the facility, and the message told employees to basically to hide or leave the facility. However, apparently that wasn't good enough because there was a mass prison break. The experimental subjects basically almost took over the facility in different sections, different areas, and different subjects all at once were basically released. The exits were sealed, and by August 8th, the same day, basically every employee that was still inside that was working that day was there, were presumed dead.
Oh.
The official explanation for the reports was that there was a catastrophic structural failure in a gas leak. And it was also similar to the explanation in 1992. Agent Holtz, the CIA officer that oversaw this program, his last visit was 3 days prior to this event. Just thought that was an interesting little detail. Essentially, all in all, approximately, this is where some speculation comes in. Over 100 employees were dead by August 8th. That was the presumed estimation. Over 100 people dead altogether, and $67 million in CIA funding. Like, when I was reading this blew my mind. I didn't know what... I thought the Epstein files were kind of weird, but this is on par with that, I think, in my opinion. They were able to gather, the investigators, they were able to file this in report, when the CIA would investigate, that someone had given an order and released the prisoners. Like, someone within the facility had done this. They think it was an employee within the facility had done this. Now, I'll go over this again, but we have 3 suspects. One of them did it. They think did it. Suspect number 1, Gerald Ash, who was the current head of the Whitmore facility, the company.
Okay.
He had accepted the CIA money, the government funding. He covered up deaths from the 1992 breach that we know of. And there was a memo from his office dated July 21st, 1995, 18 days before August 8th, directing the research division to move all primary data and key assets off-site before a specified internal transition date. And that transition date was August 8th, 1995. So he arranged for the research to be saved before the building was locked, and he was in contact with Agent Holt 3 days before. So this memo does exist, and there is a date on it. It's pretty damning. There is a paper trail. But however, there is also suspect number 2, Dr. Raymond Cord, who was, the head researcher. Cord had started and built the Bigger Bodies Initiative and designed the procedures that he authorized for every subject selection. And in the weeks before August 8th, colleagues reported he had become a lot more erratic and nervous and angsty. He was accessing systems beyond what he normally would have wanted access to, and he would spend long hours alone in the lower facility near where the child care facility was. Now, one interpretation was that Cord had pushed some of the experiments so far that he had lost control of them entirely, and August 8th was not planned, and that it was just an inevitable result of experiments that were basically coming out of control, and this was just getting too out of hand. Did Cord cause August 8th through negligence, or was it by design? Like, maybe he did this intentionally. We don't really know. Now, suspect number 3, Dr. Mara Finn, who I mentioned pretty briefly. Finn ran Sunrise House for the children, and she had flagged every child who entered the facility in the initiative. Without her assessments, the program just wouldn't have any subjects. In late 1993, she submitted a formal written recommendation to the board about the initiative, and the document is sealed under a non-disclosure agreement, so I couldn't actually read it, so we don't know exactly what it said. But what we do know is after it was submitted, the rate of new subject selections accelerated significantly through 1994 into 1995. So they started getting more and more people at a quicker rate than what they did originally for this program.
Okay.
A lot of kiddos they were
Yeah.
pumping into this initiative, okay? Now, the question would be, for the file I couldn't read, was Finn trying to stop the program and was overruled, or did she recommend it to be pushed further into the phase that eventually led to August 8th? I want your verdict. There are 3 suspects once again. There's one guilty party. Was it Gerald Ash? Again, there was the memo 18 days before, his CIA connections, the contact 3 days before, all that. Was it Raymond Cord, who built the program, and he apparently became more erratic in the weeks prior? Or was it Dr. Mara Finn, who oversaw the children and flagged every child that was approved for the program? A random sealed recommendation that I couldn't read, but people were speculating about, that was preceded by a significant escalation. One of them did it! Who do you think did it?
I think they all did it.
You think they all did it?
I think they all took part in this because they all are in charge of key aspects of this operation. I mean, if you're telling me that only one of them did it,
one of them caused August 8th, the event that led to the mass employees death at the facility.
Okay. Well, so Finn, I mean, she was in charge of this program. It was a daycare, a school, what? Sunrise?
It was a daycare and also basically for orphans, unhoused children in the local area, basically in the state.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
it was an orphanage. Okay.
Essentially, yes.
But it was a part of this company?
This private held toy company facility that was basically we realized was a front for the CIA, essentially.
Okay. I think I see. So I think she's guilty of providing kids to whatever experiments that the scientist Cord was working on. I think she was giving him test subjects and maybe making money off of it or something.
Okay.
And Cord was doing that shit. And I think as far as August 8th goes, there's something that happened on August 5th, right?
Well, so that was just the CIA agent who was basically the case manager for this facility.
Yeah.
Visited 3 days before the August 8th event happened.
Okay.
Yes.
And he died later on, right?
I did not say that. I did not say he died or lived or whatever.
Oh, I thought he had a heart attack.
No, that was the it was a retired CIA budget analyst named Dennis Marsh. He was unrelated to that facility, but he had access to the files for it because he was doing a Senate oversight committee in 2003. Yes.
Okay. So that was a good bit later, right?
Yes, that was several years after this, because the August 8th event happened in 1995. You're probably thinking of the 1992 breach when a subject, but as far as we know, it was a subject. As far as we know.
Yeah, and then Gerald Ash was in charge of all this.
He was the head of the private company, yes, on paper, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no way he didn't know this was happening.
Yeah.
if he's head of the private company that is in conjoining with the orphanage, and he also hired the scientist Cord, he is responsible ultimately. I mean, they all are. I think they all are, but I think if we have to point to one person, it's him. And Gerald Ash sounds like a fake ass name to me.
So you think Gerald Ash is the one who caused the August 8th incident? He is guilty. That's what you think?
Yeah, and as far as August 8th goes, I mean, I don't think it would have been a coincidence. If everybody in this facility died on August 8th, yeah, so something got out. The tall, smiling guy probably got out and killed everybody. Did they find bodies? Did you say?
I left a lot of details out. I just told you that there was a mass breach, and pretty much everyone who was within the facility at the time died.
Yeah, but you also described an SCP style villain out here.
I described their mascot, a toy that was popular.
But no, a woman found.
Oh yes, that as well. Yes.
Yard.
There was that as well. Yes, that was a subject that, as far as I know, was a subject who escaped. Yes, we know that.
Yeah, he's creepy as hell, and it sounds to me I immediately linked him to the mascot. So I think they're trying to make life turn kids into villains, Spider-Man villains,
into the Sinister Six.
They're out trying to turn, they're out here trying to turn kids into Spider-Man villains. That's the type of shit you're on right now. That's what's going on.
So, yeah, okay, the Green Goblin flew out and threw a pumpkin bomb and killed everyone in the facility. Like,
sure, yeah,
out am I? And I don't know. Totally, okay.
We don't know where the scientists have gone.
I asked you to pick a name. Who do you think is guilty of causing the August 8th incident? You were going into...
I think it's Gerald Ash.
Marvel. Okay, you think Gerald Ash is the one who guilty who did it?
I think ultimately he's the one that's guilty, yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna lock in that answer for case number 2.
I'm locking it up. For both of these cases, I think it's the guys who were in charge of the company, their companies, that caused all these issues.
Okay. Now, for the second part.
Okay.
Which of these cases do you think is real? The Ludlow case or the WHITMORE experiments?
Okay, so the first one reminded me of like a thing I have seen before, but almost as if it was like inspired by a thing I've seen. I can't remember what it was, but the first one I could see happening. The second one, I think that would have been taught in history classes or something. Like 100 people die in a factory.
You say that,
like,
but look at the Epstein files. You say that though. They were eating kids and all sorts of crazy nonsense, dude. Human trafficking, all sorts of nonsense.
I know, I hear you. You're right. Still though, like reports of, like, it's the woman who reported that there's a tall, creepy smiling, and the smile is the worst part of it. Mm-hmm. Like, I think the second one's Poppy's Playtime.
So that's your final answer. You think case number 1 is real, and the second one is Poppy Playtime is fake?
I think case number 1 is real, and it may not be completely true, but case number 2 I think is fake.
Is that your final answer? Any other annotations or edits you want to say?
I think Gerald Ash is a fake ass name, and as soon as you said that, I said that's not a real name. So this is cluing me in.
Okay.
That's my locked in answer.
Okay. All right. Now, before I say anything else, one detail. In case 1, I told you Edward Ludlow disappeared on June 18th, 1992. In case number 2, I told you that a facility breach happened on June 18th, 1992 at 10:27 in the evening. Same date, 2 different companies, 2 different states, 2 completely different stories and crimes. Or maybe the same building and the same night in the same case and the same story. Neither case is real. Both of these cases are Poppy Playtime. Okay, they are both fake. They are the same story, the lore that have split in 2 different parts. Case 1 is the origin story of the company. Case 2 is what came afterwards. They're in the same universe. Now, Edward, I'll explain everything. Edward Ludlow is Elliot Ludwig, who is the founder of Playtime Company in the game. And he really did divorce Molly in 1930, and his daughter did die. And he conducted all those weird experiments on rats and poppy flower extracts. And he founded the Playcare in 1976 in the lower levels of his factory. And he did adopt a boy named Oliver, and he used as experiment 1006 specifically. And he did transfer his daughter's consciousness into a Poppy doll. And he did disappear on June 18th, 1992. Now, the Dolly doll is the Poppy doll in the game. So there is a character in the game who basically is consciousness is his daughter that was put into a doll, basically.
Okay.
And I mentioned like the direct, internal routes from like the case to the office and all that. That was just a thing of the game. I just thought it'd be funny to add in there.
Okay.
And the slide system and all that, the colorful corridors, the cheerful surface, all that was like part of the Playcare facility at the Playtime Company within the games. Like the game station, all that was as part of the game. So Gerald Ash is Leith Pierre, who took control of the Playtime Company after Elliot disappeared and immediately hired Harley Sawyer, who was, Raymond Cord is Harley Sawyer, who the game calls the Doctor. And he built the Bigger Bodies Initiative and was basically turning kids into big, giant, fluffy toy monsters, basically.
Yeah.
And the Sunrise House is Playcare. That was Dr. Mara Finn is Stella Graber, which is like a character in the game who basically administered the game station stuff. And Huxley, as you correctly figured out, you were onto something. I thought you were gonna like really pick this apart more within the first case. But I was surprised I got you with the first case. I knew you would get the case 2. I'm like, okay, he's gonna know this. This is ridiculous. But I thought you were close to getting case 1. I was like, is he gonna figure out that both are fake?
Dude, I had a thought that they both were, but I was like, he told me that one of them's real. So You said one of them might be real, and I was like, I don't know.
If you had basically pursued the thing further of like, wait, like I don't think case 1 is real. Like, maybe that sounds like it could be a thing, but if you kept pursuing that, I wouldn't have said anything. I would have let you do it. I'd be like, oh, you're onto something there. I wouldn't have like said, no, it's real, I swear. I would have like let you. I would have let you keep going with that.
Okay.
But Huxley was, as you figured out, was Huggy Wuggy. You did figure that out. That was the big blue toy with the long arm and the smile that would stand at the factory and all that. You clock that like instantly. So
I know what that character looks like. So that was
basically the whole Carol Bennett in front yard of 3M. That was in the game. Apparently that was part of the lore of the game. Apparently the kid's name was Samuel Lee. That's what Samuel Lee got turned into Huggy Wuggy apparently in the big giant monster thing. And the whole retrieval team thing, all that them died. That was apparently was part of the lore as well. So I included that. Oh, and just so you know, the $67 million funding of the CIA, I just thought it was funny because 6-7. June 18th, 1992 is the date that, both of the things happened. Elliot Lubbock vanished and Huggy Wuggy escaped. I told you all that. I could barely keep a straight face when I was describing Huggy Wuggy as like standing in the entrance because I thought I was cutting that part out, but I'm like, nah, I'm already too deep. I gotta just keep describing it. As like a stuffed toy that would welcome visitors and all that, like wave and all that. I was like, I gotta like make this sound somewhat better. Like, oh, it's a statue, it doesn't move. I was like, if I just say it's move, I mean, it'd be too crazy. I thought that was pretty. This is how I was able to trick you, goober. But Mitten didn't know the trick, and he fell for the one case. You knew the trick and came in here somewhat prepared, and I got you to fall for it. Still, I got you, but I did have to deceive you. I did have to deceive you a bit, so that was on me. No one's safe on Willie Behind the Curtain.
I remember also thinking the first story, I was like, is this like a take on The Forest? Like when he tries to go save his son or something in that game, and then he's like turns into a monster or something? I didn't
think about that, but that's a pretty good correlation. I
was thinking about that.
Because I basically made it from the origin of the game. I just took it from the lore. I watched a game theory lore video and took it from that.
And then you said 1170, and I was like, that's Halo. Talk about John Halo in here.
Mr. Halo.
Martin 117.
Now so apparently that was Huggy Wuggy's experiment designation in the game. Apparently that was what I was able to get together. Apparently in like the wiki I read, it was like that was his experiment designation was 1170. Honestly that'd be hilarious if it was like a Halo reference, because when he said that I kept thinking of the meme that was going around TikTok where it was like what if you miss? I won't. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I keep thinking of that. That popped in my head. But I guess in this video I'll include the full Poppy Playtime lore video that I use in the description, because that's basically where I got most of the information other than like a couple wikis. And the real story is pretty wacky. I didn't realize the Poppy Playtime. I was not familiar with your game, Miss Playtime. I didn't. There's a lot going on in that game that I didn't know about. I just knew about the basic premise of the game and all that. And Tristan, obviously, if you want to, use your chance to plug once again, because this will be at the end of the video. So if you want to plug again, you can.
Yeah, sure. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Tristan, aka Rotten Silver Fins. I'm the clown that sometimes streams. You can watch me at twitch.tv/RottenSilverFins. I am also a bookbinder. So if you like that kind of thing and you want book, I got them.
Yeah, I will say you can watch them. Okay, I am excited already. I'm half up already to watch his streams. Okay.
Good. Stay that way.
Oh, I feel like I guess I'll put this earlier, but there was one character I forgot to say who it was. So yeah, Dr. Clarence Webb. I made it Webb. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you the answers to the case 1, like who actually, like Dr. Clarence Webb was the answer for case 1. He did all the experiments and surgery and all that. Case 2, you got that right. That was Gerald Ash, who was like, I know that was the fake name for him, but I basically...
Leaf Pierre also sounded fake as hell too, so...
Apparently that's the name of the game, is Leaf Pierre.
That's the name of the game.
So I basically had in my head, I'm like, okay, I want to make actual real answers of the suspect answers just to have them, but yeah, case 2 was Gerald Ash, you got that right. And then case 1 was Dr. Clarence Webb. That was the answer to case 1.
Okay, what happened to the original Ludlow guy?
Oh, like the founder of Playtime in the game?
Yeah.
So apparently he founded the company, got divorced his wife and all that. His daughter died, and he put his car consciousness into a doll. And because the Poppy doll was like the most popular item they had for like several years, and so they eventually made Huggy Wuggy. And the whole Baker Bodies initiative was like something that was started by a former mentor, because the whole him starting the unhoused children thing, that was real in the game too.
Yeah.
And he had a mentor or a mentee in the game who eventually became like a mad scientist basically and helped him start the Bigger Bodies initiative to basically make better toys basically. And that's what led to that. Then he started getting all the weird experiments and the kiddos and he turned into giant like fluffy monsters and all that crap.
Okay.
Yeah, so that gives you more of an idea of what the weirdness is going on in the game. There's more to it. I basically like stuck with the bare bones of like,
dude, this game is so popular with kids. I'm shocked at like it is, and I'm just shocked at how much like gore and shit is in this.
I mean, you saw what happened with FNAF. You saw what happened with that. It's the same idea.
Yeah, I know. It's true. It's true.
Thank you, as always, for sticking to the end and watching my goofy video. Your support always means the world. Click on another video. It's probably the end of the video at this point, so click on another video that I have in the end here. Just use your ET elongated finger and click on a video. All right, just in case I don't see you, stay safe and have a good one. Bye! Bye! All right, that's it. That's the video.